Welcome back, folks, to the Unpopular Opinion, Becoming Popular. My name is Yana the Heretic, and we're jumping straight into the gate of vitality and the joyous, which we did see coming through on what is Christmas Day here in the United States. This is pretty cool, pretty interesting that it falls on Christmas Day, when we are most likely in our family's auras. And, this is where the preserver or Vishnu really comes in, because we either have a complete open relationship with our family members, or we have some rigidity coming through. So the potential here being a root gate is that it is pure generated energy. It's like a fuel cell of energy just bopping around, stored in this like battery, and it's just this energy to want to do something, like I want to experience like going skydiving, or I want to experience going into this shady bar, that I've never been in. I want to experience all that life has to offer, and it's this insatiable desire to want these experiences. But it is also joyous because we are being open. We're being open to giving, receiving. We're open to sharing information, sharing our stories, the things that we overcame, because we don't really get to see the people we love all the time, especially in this very consumerist age that we have. So being able to talk about, our strengths, our weaknesses, being open and honest about them is really what this gate's about. Is releasing this pressure and stimulating other people, maybe some ideas that you have to share, some feedback, some information, knowledge, anything like that, all comes out as open information, as long as people are open to receiving it. It's reaching up towards gate 18, which is in the splenic center. Gate 18 is work on what has been spoiled. That is the theme of the gate. Both of them have a theme around judgment. So, but 58 is considered the preserver, but it's also considered as the devil in certain ways, like the devil tarot card, where, the downside of it is being extremely indulging, being lustful, greedy, mean for the sake of reputation, bullying, or just being like too judgmental. Everyone knows somebody that fights authority or challenges authority, and they do it in a very blind rage way. Some of them have a lot of information, and substance to share as well. So it's all about really finding what brings us joy within all of these spectrums. But obviously, it's going to take some time. There's trial and error, implied here as the 58. So for all of us who don't, typically have, for anyone that doesn't have gate 58 naturally, you're going to feel like maybe more open, maybe you'll feel like challenging authority. But generally you want to do something exciting. It's nice to have the ability to slow down and to be like in your internal circles while this is happening, because of the gifts, the sharing, sharing emotions, really. That's also something that's beautiful about this is, I went through this thing, and having, the empathy being granted back to you, and somebody actually like acknowledging your struggle and your path beyond this challenge. It's about, the closing of chapters and, you know, the ones that you want to take on that are now open doors into your self-mutation or exploration. So talking about the things that you're about to do, you know, that you're excited to do as this year ends and the new one begins. So obviously there is that aspect where somebody doesn't like what you say, or doesn't like your language, or doesn't have the same beliefs as you. This is why this can be a total struggle around this time of year, is because it's a double-edged sword. You know, most of us want to have a good time and to settle our differences and not think about, you know, what's the most conservative thing that I need to talk about. But realistically, some people have these lives, you know, that everything is about this thing, you know, and you know, we're all different from one another, so there's a potential of uproar, upheaval, or judgment, or, you know, fights to happen. So obviously, the more open you are and the more confident you are in your openness, you're able to surpass all those things and say hello, goodbye, and I wish you the best. So without it actually like affecting you. And that's definitely a struggle, because there's a lot of oppression that is implied, that doesn't make a lot of sense. So I understand why it's difficult, you know, and yeah, but all you can do is really collect knowledge at the end of the day. If you choose not to see certain people, you just choose not to see them, you know, and that should be fine. So, you know, I know a 58 that has his 58 in Neptune, and Neptune is the planet of how we get high on life. So it was a very difficult placement for a really long time, because there was decades of addiction. That's another thing. Like, if you think of the downside of 58, there's a potential of addiction and indulgence and perversity, stuff like that, just because there's never enough. It's insatiability, right? So that's, you know, just always yearning and never really being satisfied, which is always a good and a very bad thing, because, you know, you hope that certain things satisfy you, but it's good for those that want to ascend into mastery. It's bad for the ones that indulge and, you know, settle for cheap thrills that get them instant gratification, like shopping, or, you know, one night stands. Like, it makes you feel hollow. Like, if we're being completely honest and bare bones about it, it does make you feel hollow, because you had wished for something more, you know, and 58 58 is the oh yeah, back to my story about the 58. I know, a little off track here, stimulated, you know. He has this 58 in Neptune, and I would say there was years and years of addiction, because you keep pressing the button of euphoria, you know, this mysterious entanglement with euphoria, and you keep pressing the button, and, you know, maybe like, yeah, like, this is how I get high now, listen up. Like, we don't want that trash stuff. We can, like, get high off coca tea or whatever, you know. And it's like, you're always like ascending your taste, but in reality, it's always transforming as well, because, you know, you find out that addiction is actually making you seem cohesive. You know, drinking a little alcohol will make you feel more like social and entertaining and exciting, and like you have a life, but in reality, you know, it's a trick, right? It's not exactly what your life looks like. You're not always super happy or full of life. It's getting down to what's honest, you know. You can be honest and happy and also sad. You know, you have this full range of emotions that are possible at all times. And I think that accepting that is where, you know, you start to really become more open and more joyful for the fact that you can just exist as yourself. So yeah, you know, a lot of us don't like to take those breaks. We like to always be on. We always like to be stimulated. We like to go to the bar with our friends. We don't want to miss out. We want to have a life, you know. So then your body ends up paying for it, like decades of like alcoholism or drug use or cocaine use or whatever, ketamine, whatever your flavor is, it gets to your body. Obviously, we have proof of that. And I think that is a good signal that your body's like, hey, maybe you should seek some moderation or seek some actual real joy in your life, like an experience or a skill set. Maybe I want to learn an instrument. Maybe I want to, you know, go on this long hike that takes multiple days. I want to test my survival skills. Maybe I want to write a book. Maybe I want to, like I said, go skydiving or take a art class, or, you know, just seeing like what else is like enticing that high. And that's exactly what happened for him. You know, he ended up noticing how hollow, you know, the drug use, the alcoholism felt, and then pursued into sobriety. And you always people that I think have this gate, or a heavy Neptune presence, they become those adrenaline junkies, you know, or become people that are endurance runners, you know. And it's extremely like exciting to see this like generated energy flow go somewhere. You know, that pressure ends up becoming mastery. And just remembering that, you know, remembering like, what does that drive make you do? You know, is it really, really insane toxic that makes for a really funny story? Or is it like, whoa, like you did that, you know? So kind of assess that situation. It's okay if we're always on and responsible or cohesive. Like we can like dance or flow or be weird, and we should be weird in front of people that we love, that understand who we are. And we should be weird no matter what, but you know, obviously like at least somewhere that's like good, you know, just be yourself amongst people at least somewhere in life. That is the road of the full know thyself path. Yeah, aging also helps us with the process. Like some people like will stop using drugs or alcohol when they have a kid, or they just get tired and they're like, yeah, like this was like my youth and I want to really see something else happen. So aging does a lot of that too. So you develop this authentic, specific taste that you want to eventually express and challenge others about. These people are always going to challenge an authority because they have developed that taste. Obviously, you'll see somebody that hasn't developed themselves well, and they will fight for things that they don't really believe in or they don't know how to fix. That's typically the 58 without the 18. They may like totally give themselves up in desperation to fight for something that's not really theirs. You know, they'll just follow the crowd, but they're like going through the motions and not really understanding the details or the density or depth of the situation. And they certainly don't know how to fix the situation. So these people always strive to find that splenic connection, the harmonic with gate 18, so they can become those perfectionists, those people that change the rhythms of the world. This is the channel of judgment, 1858. And the real key here is just don't tell people what to do unless you're asked for your input. And even then, if you're asked, don't like demean people. Just tell them, hey, this is what I suggest. It doesn't have to come to like, oh my God, this is so frustrating. You're so dumb. Like, you know, so like, whatever. If you have to tell like, I have to tell my brother things like a million times, you know, because he's 19 years old. And, you know, it's like, there's all this other chatter when we're young and youthful. So figuring out ways to be like very discerning and like, you know, on sparking the interest and the inspiration is where it really shines, because then people will be more open to listen to you, right? It's about openness. So we want to figure out a language like human design, like any broad, wider sense, more collective sense to talk to people where you're not just completely offending or demeaning them. So but yeah, that's totally possible with 18s or 58s. They're gonna judge you, and hopefully it's for the better, you know, because they are the perfectionists in life. They challenge the mediocre, they challenge what's not fair. They challenge what it is to be healthy and what does equality look like in this day and age. But yeah, you know, so I hope that you guys have had a ton of fun. I hope that you guys got to share a lot of information and just feel like good in your heart. You know, I hope that this 2025, like, snake shedding chaos, you know, you've had a lot of stories to share about your conflicts or challenges, and you can let that be and let that rest in this container of 2025. And transform, you know, whatever makes you actually sustainably joyous throughout time, that you find that. That is what I wish for you. I wish that for your family, for the age of health, you know, and herbal medicine and being sovereign. That's really what this individual age means to me, is knowing how to be sovereign, knowing how to grow your food, knowing how to solve complex problems, knowing how, you know, the economy works, as boring as that is. But a lot of good people need their voice to be heard. There are inventions to be made. We're having a lot of imbalances here. So in order to be an individual that is aware, learn some real skills that'll make you feel happy in life, you know, that you can sustain your family into the future, because times are weird and uncertain. So, you know how to heal yourself and talk to plants. It never hurts your spirit when you're confident in who you are and confident in your openness, your ability to be fluid. Yeah, like, you think this about me, think that, cool, whatever. You know, this is a pillar on how to live free. This is the pillar of how to live free and be joyous, because you have your own strength and it doesn't come from anybody else's opinion. We also have the channel of community, the bargain, which I haven't seen for a while. I think it's been 2 years. I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure it's been 2 years since the channel of community has been online. We're seeing a lot of it within this month. And the channel of acceptance, to be able to have the mental capacity to see the bigger picture without getting too scattered. We also have the channel of initiation, leaps into the abyss, the unknown, in order to take what you found and transform. It's a lot of warrior energy right now, so remember that there's a lot going on that you can grab onto, you know, as like a good source of fuel. Questions of the week. Do you feel open to express yourself in your close circles? Do people usually ask you for your input or your opinion or your story? What kind of gifts were your favorite this year? What verbal exchanges are the most meaningful to you? Poetry? Creative gifts? Did you get exactly what you wanted? Like a blender? Or like a toaster? Or like a titanium cutting board? What's your favorite gift? Please comment that in the chat box below. I want to hear what you got this year. How does authority make you feel? Are you always challenging it at all costs, or do you see a middle ground? Do you typically respect and trust authority? Do you absolutely gag at the word authority? What is it? Let me know. How has authority made you healthy or unhealthy? Whether you're in an authoritative place or just viewing authority, what steps are you taking to improve yourself and therefore improve the world? So all of these questions will be in the chat box as well as some information. I hope you guys enjoyed this, and we will be starting up with a new gate soon, the gate of the fighter. So I will be with you guys very soon, and thank you for watching and tuning in. Happy New Year.